Clemson's ranked very high in the analytics for 2025, but is this Dabo Swinney's last shot at a national championship? We'll talk about it right here on Locked On Clemson.
You are Locked On Clemson, your daily podcast on the Clemson Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Tiger fans? Morgan Thomas here, Clemson fan, Clemson grad, host and producer of Locked On Clemson, and part-time host and producer over on 105.5 FM The Roar. Thank you so much for making Locked On Clemson your first listen every day. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And if you're new to the show, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And you know how we do it here on Locked On. Exclusive Clemson content Monday through Friday, every single week. And don't forget to follow me in between episodes over on X at the Morgan T Show, where we can talk about all things Clemson whenever you want. And today's episode, we're going to discuss Clemson's rankings and what some of the analysts think, and maybe what even some of the doubt is out there about Dabo Swinney and what they can do for 2025. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Now, you know, at the beginning of the season or during the off season, towards the summer, we usually get an SP plus model from ESPN. And right now, from Bill Connelly over there, it says that they are ranked nationally with a top 10 offense and a top 10 defense. But he still mentions that he's not convinced that Clemson can make it to the national title. Obviously, the S&P Plus is a respective metric that accounts for efficiency, explosiveness, strength of schedule, or I guess you would say strength of opponent. And Clemson got a big bump in the spring after the success they had this offseason, but still remains behind guys on the list or teams on the list like Ohio State and Georgia. And I think Clemson fans should be okay with this because the number 8 spot puts them in a really good area to where you know that they're talented. You know that they have all the pieces to be able to make a big run into the national championship game in 2025. But there's still some things that during the offseason, not only we need to take a look at and be honest with ourselves about, but the coaching staff needs to as well. And there were 3 things that he mentioned that were kind of a negative towards Clemson, if you will. One being some of the turnover luck last season. He actually ranked Clemson as number 1 in turnover luck last season. They recovered more fumbles than they were expected to recover. They benefited from some fluke plays, and he talked about the SMU game where there was the sack strip touchdown sequence. And Clemson, more often than not, saw the odd-shaped ball bounce their way. And to me, I feel as if you can't knock a team a ton for that because that is where talent and preparation meet. And you can say those things are luck, but that's where football, that's what happens on the field. That's why everything isn't played on paper, you know? And so when that preparation meets opportunity, you could call it luck, but turnovers are going to happen. And yes, Clemson was a little bit more opportunistic than other teams out there. I was shocked to think that they were number 1 in the country in it, but maybe that is the case. You know, maybe I'm missing a couple of games here and there where they did get turnovers that were, you know, fluke plays, if you will. I do feel like that they benefited from other teams, you know, not doing well, like SMU starting out slow at the beginning of the ACC championship game, and then like Miami losing to Syracuse later on in the season. So those were things really that didn't involve Clemson directly, but were other teams not performing to their expectation. So was Clemson lucky? It seems so. They were lucky last season. They got into the postseason, and a lot of people felt like that teams below them, especially those SEC teams, like to make sure and remind Clemson fans that they actually deserve to be in when Clemson didn't deserve to be in, whether they were a champion or not. You can agree or disagree with that, but was Clemson lucky? I guess so. Can they continue that? That's the hard part is, you can't really replicate it because you didn't plan for it in the first place. You just had to be at the right place at the right time and be prepared. But under Tom Allen and Dabo Swinney and with the team that you have returning, I think you should be confident that they will still be in the right place at the right time for those beneficial plays or those 50-50 plays to go their way. Another point that the S&P Plus mentions is that Clemson has number 6 offense and number 12 defense in the country and puts them up at an elite level. And the biggest thing that they pointed out with Clemson's elite level of talent is the lack of consistency versus top 25 teams. Clemson's going to play a handful of likely top 25 teams in 2025. And so they're going to get their shot. And I've mentioned this all off season that if Cade Klubnik listens to this episode or any of these episodes, hopefully he doesn't. But if he did, he knows, and we all know that this is a year where he has to prove that he can win the big marquee game. Can he go out and be legendary and win those big games? And, you know, he's had a successful career at Clemson. He's one of the better quarterbacks that we've ever had at Clemson. You may not necessarily believe that on the surface because of all the frustration that you've had with Cade over the years as he goes through these growing pains of turning the ball over or making some weird plays, some things that he was able to do in high school, he wasn't able to do in college. And it took him a while to figure that out. But as he's progressed throughout the year and the off seasons over multiple years, he has become a quarterback that you can rely on, that is a leader on the team, and that is going to make more positive plays than negative plays. That was something that we always said about DJU. You know, he wasn't going to necessarily win you the game, but he wasn't also going to lose you the game either. He was kind of indifferent. Cade, on the other hand, is not indifferent. He's going to do some plays that maybe are kind of head scratchers, but you know that he is going to make some plays that could definitely win you the game as well. Doing a little bit too much maybe cost him a little bit last season, but he has the talent around him to be able to win these top 25 matchups that he's going to have. If he can win them all, man, he could possibly go down as top 3, or I wouldn't want to put him above Deshaun or Trevor at all, unless he wins a national championship game. But I still think that he would never surpass Trevor Lawrence or Deshaun Watson, even if he did win a national championship game. But I do think that he has the talent around him and the talent in himself to win and be more consistent against the best of the best. And he's going to have plenty of opportunities in 2025. The biggest thing, and we'll talk about it later on in the show, is what is the group or the position group or the area that is the biggest concern according to the SP Plus. And there's an area that I haven't actually talked about at all this offseason, and I've really kind of ignored. I've looked at specific position groups and specific players, but I really haven't looked at the one area that S&P did, or SP Plus did, and I think we'll get into it at the end of by the end of the show, and I'll tell you exactly who they think or what position group they think is maybe the Achilles heel, the actual problem for Clemson. Now, does Clemson have everything it takes or everything they need to be able to collide with the best of the best and win and go all the way to the playoffs? I think the film says yes. Maybe on paper, there's still some question marks there, but to me, the talent is there and the coaching staff is there. This is Clemson's best shot. I think it is. Is it Dabo Swinney's prove it year? After all these years, is this the year for Dabo to prove that he can get back to an elite level? We'll talk about it in segment 2. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off, live, and with player prop bets, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. As a Clemson fan, I live for those big-time moments, and last night's Pacers-Knicks thriller had me absolutely glued. Halliburton's insane buzzer beater to force overtime was like a clutch drive for the Tigers. Seeing him heat up, I jump on something like a mid-game bet to build in a live prop bet on his points or assists, and then pair it with a Pacers win for a same-game parlay to ride in that momentum. It's the kind of edge that makes every play feel like it's the fourth quarter in Death Valley. New to FanDuel, you can get in right now. It's the perfect time to sign up. Head over to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Is this make or break time for Dabo Swinney? I think so, in a lot of ways. And Bill Connelly mentioned it over on ESPN. If this Clemson team can't make it to the playoffs and possibly can't make it to the national championship game, then maybe no Dabo Swinney team ever will again. And it's shocking to say that out loud. But to be honest with you, with the quarterback situation, with the play caller situation, and Garrett Riley, with the wide receivers that you have, my biggest concern really starts with the quarterback and the offensive play caller and Garrett Riley. You don't know what's going to happen after this season. It could be one of those really good seasons where Riley goes on and becomes a head coach himself. He could end up staying for sure as well, but we know that Cade Klubnik is no longer going to be around after this season. So the returning production in the most key plays or positions are really important after 2025. And you're going to have to rebuild at the quarterback position specifically. Now, I know we have Christopher Vezina and Chris Denson, but those guys are not very proven in real snaps against the best of the best, against the biggest competition in your conference and out of your conference. Cade Klubnik is the man right now, and there is no five-star guy replacing him or no key marquee guy in a top 5, top 2, whatever that Clemson has had year over year. Clemson's been very spoiled with some extremely talented quarterbacks. And after Cade Klubnik, there's still a big question mark for that. Right now, Clemson is returning number 1 overall in returning production this season. You've got Cade Klubnik and his Frisbee catching dogs, Antonio Williams, Bryant Wesco, TJ Moore. You have on the defensive side of the ball, TJ Parker, Peter Woods, Sammy Brown, Wade Woodaz, Avion Terrell. You have a lot of guys in there that are going to bring back production for this team, a lot of snaps, a lot of veteran presence for this team. They're all back. But the schedule is much more difficult. We talked about how November is going to be a difficult season or part of the season. You've got a night game on a Friday versus Louisville. You've got Florida State. You never know what you're going to get from them. You've got a revenge game possible from SMU. You've got a cashing the check game against Syracuse, and then you've got 2 SEC matchups with LSU and South Carolina to bookend both parts of the season. So this is a brutal schedule for Clemson compared to most years, one that we haven't experienced in a couple of years. But this is also one of the most experienced and complete teams that Clemson has had in recent memory. This is the best shot that Clemson has had at getting to the national championship since Trevor Lawrence. Anything less than playoff for me would be a major missed opportunity for these Tigers. I expect them to win the majority of the games in the regular season. I expect them to get to the ACC championship game. And I expect Cade Klubnik to have those marquee wins that we were talking about he desperately needs. But I also expect him to get to the playoffs, and not just the playoffs, but win that first playoff game, whether it's a bye or a play-in game, whatever it may be, and then go into fighting towards the national championship. Experience and continuity for this team should be one of the marquees for the team. They have returning production that most of their yardage, most of their tackles, most of the snaps, they lead the country in bringing that back. Outside of who is Clemson missing? R.J. Mickens, that's a lot of snaps. Barrett Carter, that's a lot of snaps. and then Phil Maffa. That's also a lot of snaps. But those are just 3 guys out of a team that has 22 guys. And I may be missing 1 or 2 here or there, but those are the kind of the big guys that I think of on the team. You are missing those guys now for 2025, but you have a ton of the rest of the starting lineup that is returning to bring back the experience and the continuity that you would expect from a team that should make it to the postseason. Cade Klubnik is more than ready. We talked about it already. Can he be just 10% better? If Cade can be just 10% better, which I think he can be, you're looking at a 4,000-yard passing season. You're looking at a 40-touchdown season from Cade, and that doesn't even include what he can do with his legs. Clemson finally has threats in the passing game all over the field, and the quarterback is ready. He's the most ready that he can ever be. And if he's not ready, if he shows up and it looks terrible, then in my opinion, that's all on him. I don't think that that's going to happen. I really don't believe that that will happen at all. But worst case scenario, he regresses a little bit, but it won't be because of the people around him. We've seen it many times, has been said, well, we just need to surround the quarterback with better players. Cade doesn't have that excuse now. He has all the best players that he needs around him, and he has, outside of maybe running back, but still, I have a lot of confidence in the running back group. He also has the play caller that he needs as well. Dabo still controls everything. He leads the culture. They've lost a few guys here and there, but he's supplemented where he needs to. He's kept the team intact where in the most important positions, and he's brought in guys that he believes brings in a system that can win national championships. There are a lot of places to stub your toe. As I mentioned, South Carolina is one. You can't overlook that game. The beginning of the season against LSU, you better not overlook that game. Friday night away game at Louisville, that's going to be a tough one. You know, we have to be real about that one. Florida State, not going to be a pushover. You think about how terrible they were last year. Well, they revamped their entire roster. So it won't even be the same team. They're the team right now that's just going through mass exodus and mass rebuild from the portal. So we don't even know much about what we're going to expect from Florida State, but we do expect them to be much better than they were last season. And then, as I mentioned, SMU and Syracuse, those are the teams that are looking for some revenge, maybe not necessarily revenge from Syracuse, but looking to say, hey, you know what? We got you into the ACC championship game last season. It's our time to go ahead and take that back from you, get our win back. Now, Clemson should be one of the better teams in the country. I do think that they'll win another 10 win. They'll have another 10-win season if everything plays out like it does on paper for me, in my mind. But is this make or break? Is it prove it for Dabo? I think that Dabo doesn't. In my mind, he's not a coach that I'm thinking needs to prove anything to me. But if you have a disappointing season where you don't even make the playoffs, I do feel like that Dabo is going to have to go through another couple of years of rebuild unless he can somehow go into the transfer portal and bring in a quarterback that is a superstar quarterback. That's my biggest concern. I don't think Dabo has the personality or the values to do that. I don't think he's going to cash in all of his money on one player at the quarterback position in the transfer portal. But when you look at playoff contention teams, they have been able to have success on the offensive line and the defensive line. To me, we've taken that for granted at Clemson because they've generally been pretty good at that area, at least on the defensive side of the ball. So can Clemson maintain that? They're going to be losing guys from the defensive side of the ball after that this season as well. I do think that this is the ultimate, this is the top of the peak here for this roster. Now, Dabo's still going to be around after this, and he's going to have to rebuild it back up. But I could see 2 years of non-ACC championship years after this year if things don't, if supplemental players aren't brought in. I do think that I'll be interested to see how the offseason goes with the portal We know that Dabo Swinney's getting used to using it now. Will he use it to get a billboard marquee level player? I think the guys he brought in definitely are guys that you talk about on ESPN or national radio, but you know what I mean when I say billboard worthy, banner worthy transfer portal edition. And I'm mainly talking about quarterback. You know, Clemson's best teams out there have dominated the line of scrimmage and have also had a first-round draft pick quarterback. So you've got to have that. I think that is what every team wants to have. So if I was to go all in, I would go all in on those areas of my team and see if you can't make a run for it again. But there's a huge question mark about life after Cade Klubnik once this season is done. I would agree with Bill Connelly in the fact that it is definitely the best option or the best possibility for Clemson now. This is their best opportunity yet in the past couple of years. Since Trevor Lawrence's years, I agree 1,000%. This is the best possible option and opportunity for Dabo and his staff. All right, we're going to finish up the show talking about the actual problem that is on paper for Clemson that I have ignored all offseason. Unfortunately, Clemson has a huge Achilles heel that I haven't talked about. They are dead last in SP Plus rankings for special teams. You heard me right, 133. That's not a typo. That's not me being a shock jock. That is one of the reasons why Clemson may not be able to make and win the national championship in 2025. And I know what you're saying. Well, Morgan, if the offense is so good and the defense is so good, we don't need a punter. That is something that I like to say myself. You know, we want a team that's so good, we don't even use the punter. We don't even use the kicker unless it's a field goal or unless it's an extra point, excuse me. And those are gimmies. And I understand that. But what did frustrate Clemson a lot last season? Field goal protection was almost hair pulling and, heart attack giving last season. The punt protection has never been the best for me. The punt coverage has never been the best, in my opinion. It's been years of mediocre punting, mediocre field goal blocking, and protection. There's not a lot to say about the special teams for Clemson. Are they returning kickoffs really well? No. Honestly, one of their better running backs gets injured. They don't know who they're going to use. And a lot of times the guys they do use make you scratch your head. Like, why don't we use somebody that is faster than this guy? Kick coverage, punt protection, returning the ball. It's all wrapped around the big context of field position. These are hidden yards in areas where elite teams are extremely successful at, pinning you deep, changing the field, frustrating offenses by having to start in their own end zone. That's how you win extremely close games. And that's what elite teams can do. And as your schedule gets more difficult, as you get further on in the season, you're going to have closer games. Long gone are the days of Clemson being able to beat teams by 40. And I used to take those games for granted. And I used to say, oh, well, I'll watch somebody else. Clemson's destroying their team. That's the unfortunate thing now is those Trevor Lawrence days are gone. And so Clemson may have to win tight games. And I think 5 or 6 of them maybe. I don't know if Dabo Swinney has really shown any sense of urgency to fix these areas either. I mean, my goodness, how many times did they have to block a field goal before they finally changed who was out there on the line of scrimmage to protect the corners, the edge? If Clemson wants to be taken seriously against the best of the best in the country in the playoffs. You can't just get by winning 2 playoff games and go into the national championship game because this season is much longer now. And so you have to be able to get there, first of all. And you have to have a great season to be able to win you that first round bye to even have that opportunity. And I think numbers don't lie in this scenario. Last year's breakdowns where you're getting, field goals, blocks, and teams just, doesn't it seem like every time Clemson plays someone, the other team's punter is all of a sudden just this Pro Bowl worthy punter, and Clemson's punter can barely get 35 yards. They rarely ever pin you deep, rarely ever pin you on the 2-yard line or within the 5-yard line. I do think that there needs to be a little bit more accountability on the special teams side of things. Playoffs, you can still get there probably, but it all depends on how your schedule shakes out as well. Opponents around Clemson seem to be improving, while Clemson seems to either be staying still or not really going after it. I want to see the fastest guy out there returning the field kickoffs and the punts, and the surest hands. That's also a big deal. But I also want to see a punter actually step up and not just get the ball away, but pin teams deep and have great hang time and be somebody that you can be proud of when they go out there. Hey, yeah, the offense didn't get a first down, but you know what? Our punter's going to pin you deep, and they're going to get an even better field position after this. Imagine getting a kickoff and being at the 25 or 20 or whatever it may be and going 3 and out, but then being able to flip the script and starting your opponent in less than 15. Well, then if they go 3 and out because you have a great defense, now you're potentially at the 45 or 50 if they don't have a good kicker or punter. So it's really, really important to play the field position game. It's the hidden yards that a lot of people don't talk about. And I admit, I haven't really talked about it. I've talked a ton about the transfer guys in and the secondary on the defense and the running backs. But the special teams is an area that we need to be hoping that there is improvement, and there's a little bit of concern there. So if you want to add it to the list of concern, we've got running back group, who's going to actually show up, secondary and the safeties. Will these young guys actually show up and show out, or will they struggle to make it to the college level and the college speed of the game? And then special teams. That's the other one that we'll circle and say, are they really improving, or are they just kind of staying the same, which the same to me is not really that flashy or exciting. Maybe there's something hiding out there that we don't know about that Clemson has, that Dabo is trusting his players for a little bit of tweaks here and there. I want to see a little more transparency around what this second or special teams is going to do in 2025. And maybe we won't see it in the fall, but maybe we will see it game 1. And we might like it, we might hate it. But details and hidden yardage win championships. And in the playoffs, they have a very high likelihood of getting magnified on the national stage. Well, that's it for this episode, this Thursday episode of Locked On Clemson. Thank you so much for making Locked On Clemson your first listen today. For your second listen, check out my friend Brian Smith over on the Portal Show. He has the latest rumors, portal entries, signings. You can be the most informed fan on the rapid changes in the college football landscape. Find the Portal over on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. And as always, Tiger fans, we'll see you tomorrow, and we'll see you at the top of the hill.